think the thing that I'm the most proud of in terms of being a part of this program is that I made the decision to invest in myself. And the ripple effects of investing in myself has been that other people are within my institution, within my teams, within the executive cabinet, are all feeling the impacts of that, and potentially I'm rubbing off on them. What challenges have become easier as a result of this program has been my ability to have my quick reaction, but then be able to respond from a place of breath. And what could feel like crises are feeling less like crises and more like this is an issue that needs to be addressed. I work for a theater, so there's often something that's happening that needs to be challenged. So actually, I think I could give it an example. So I mentioned before that we had new staff, and on the ground work often needs like some space and training and shadowing opportunities. So we had enough time to design what that training opportunity could look like. And on the week, we had 2 performances with school groups. And the first of the performances went very smooth. The shadowing happened. We were able to debrief and answer questions. All that was, beautiful. And then 2 days later, I had my main person who was also doing that training out sick. So we had to, and there were other, and they were supposed to be in charge of like a big piece of accessibility services that was happening on that same show. And so what could have felt like a crisis, I had enough time between learning of this person calling out sick and getting to the theater to make a plan. And then along the way, I was able to share that plan so that by the time we got to our sort of pre-show meeting, all those new folks knew exactly what they were going to do and knew that they were no longer going to have like somebody sitting around them because everybody had to sort of be shuffled about, but everybody seemed to know what to do. And while the session in terms of arrival prior to the show there were definitely some troubleshooting moments, everybody knew exactly what they needed to do. And I realized that I did not have to solve everything. And it was a moment for me to sort of like, even as it was happening, I was like, oh, okay, they're doing this, they're doing that. I'm ready to step in if I need, but nobody seems to need me. Oh, they need this one thing. I can do that. I could do that. And then I could just stay. So I think, honestly, I do believe that because of this program, I'm able to plan, even if it's and all that planning happened in an hour, so it was quick. And then the rest of the morning was everybody understood what their role is. Everybody understood that we are in this together. We're all going to support each other. And then when we had that final meeting after the show, we did accolades, and there was so much kindness and so much seeing of each other that I don't want to say that I made that happen, but I think because I was able to map out, the shuffle and the moving about, and people felt concrete about what they were going to do, that positivity was very much felt, and I'm really proud of that. Efficiency has been great. I mean, the scheduling on point and things need to reschedule. That's one of my favorite parts. Another favorite part was just, again, getting lots of resources that were shared as I needed them, as opposed to bombarding me from the top and me, getting too overwhelmed by different kinds of resources coming at me. And yeah, I really like the music, the music coming into a given space. My coach was Kemi, and I have a lot of love for Kemi. And I don't know if I thought about it like that when I jumped in. I really appreciated sort of the shift from wherever I was prior to my coaching session into the space, and always there being curated music to setting the stage and creating a space that was for me. I really appreciated that. And that's actually also something I've learned about how to create spaces for others and think about, what could be playing when they're coming in, and how do I set up so that everybody feels like they have the intellectual safety, the emotional safety, the physical safety of a given space. The biggest challenge I had before coaching with Fears Advantage was just having a space to process, a non-judgmental space to process any real issues that were arising. And so many different issues of crisis had been happening time and time again. And we were making a tremendous amount of change in a short amount of time. And having a space to process, to breathe, was not very much present prior to being a coaching client. And I do recall at the very beginning, there were some acute crises that were happening that I felt like I was able to process those issues, and being asked very, very provocative, again, non-judgmental questions helped to sort of calm things down so that I could sort of see the different pieces. And then I was starting to get new tools for how to either look at the pieces, handle the pieces, analyze, etc. So the biggest challenge for me was just having time and space, I think, and not always feeling like I had to be in this sort of stress position to do the work at hand. Understanding that as somebody who is interested in being an advancer, as somebody who is interested in advocating for others, that I have the ability to take time to think through what some of those pieces are. I loved a question that was asked to me, actually, I would say midway through, that what would make something possible? What would make that possible? And just that one question alone continues to sort of permeate how I look at all the work that I do. What would it take to make it possible, whatever the it is? And being able to bring that to my team helps to stop sort of being in that stress position that I was talking about earlier, and more thinking aspirationally and starting to say yes, as opposed to immediately having obstacles because it's impossible to do these things. So what would it take? What would make it possible? That question was very, very big, so much so that I actually put it as opposed to up next to me so that I was always referring to it. And I think there's a world where in my world as a leader, I have full-time staff and I have part-time staff and who do many different kinds of work and are also asking big questions of our work. And so I want to be in a position where we can explore what is possible. And I don't know if I would have always been able to do that with my team if I hadn't had this coaching space or that question posed to me. And again, that question I think seems very simple, but it's not. It's actually quite complex in being asked, but it's not. It opens up so many avenues for possibility, for forward momentum, for creating opportunities for multiple voices in a decision-making process. And I think that's the other piece of what I feel like I've learned is to continue to grow my skill sets at creating space for folks on my team to have deep input and drive a particular process, project, or troubleshooting for a particular issue. So prior to working as a coaching client, I was meeting every other week with my full team. I would have individual meetings, but in the midst of the pandemic crisis, in order to get more opportunities for communicating more efficiently, we were starting to meet weekly. And the format of that meeting, whether it was a longer section of time or a shorter section of time, really evolved very much because of some of the tools that and resources that I received from being a coaching client. So our meeting like now we have a tracking document, and it's things that you can go back to. We've evolved what the template looked like in order for us to have really, really targeted, agendaed conversations about, things that need immediate attention and to do planning. Again, some of the lovely questions posed to me across the whole year, I've been able to translate those into having reflective questions or brainstorming reflection sessions, debrief sessions. So a prime example that I could give, I don't know if I have a prime example, but I think that the idea of my breakthrough being like, let's make sure that there's more space for my team members to have input, not just on the tasks that they do, but on the philosophy, our approaches, how we're working with our constituents, et cetera, and formulating all of that as a team, as opposed to it being just me saying, okay, this is how we're going to do it, and everybody sort of falls in line. We are all coming to that, and by changing the frequency of our meetings, it actually created more space to have the sort of like rundown. We got to go through these things, and now we have more space to actually talk about a particular topic that needs more time, more attention, and everybody's voice involved. So I don't know if that was a specific example, but that has definitely, I think, improved investment on my team's part as individuals and it's also helped people start to think through, like, is this actually the right place for me? I have these goals, and can I do them here or can I do them elsewhere? And so I have had people sort of move out in the last year, but not from a place of disgruntledness, but actually because they were given more voice, and that was permeating other areas of their own lives. And for that, I'm quite proud. So I think about my team, but I think actually in the executive space, like being in an executive cabinet, and frankly, being the only person of color in the executive cabinet, there are a lot of moments that I feel like I either, spoke or used my voice in a particular way that definitely was informed by this coaching experience. And I feel like I'm able to be more in my own skin as a leader in that space where there are many leaders. I also feel like I talked about this before about space and slowing down. I've tried my best to be in that space with a calm brain and respond as opposed to react, so that there's always a conversation as opposed to something that gets shut down. What I would like to share with leaders who are potentially embarking on a journey, a coaching journey, I would say be open to the process, be authentic in your sessions, be real, and be receptive. I think it's very easy to think we know what we're going to get out of this or have expectations, but I definitely felt that I got a lot more out of this experience than I anticipated. And I think because I was able to sort of lean into all the processing that I could do and really sharing and being honest about that sharing, I got probably more out of it than I maybe put in.